Welcome to Effective People, your HR transformation partner.
Hello, my name is Isabella Van Rel. I'm a senior SuccessFactors consultant specialized in EC and time off, and I'll be presenting this release.
For the agenda, we will first highlight some of the most important topics that have come out in this release. We will then move on to some other release features. Then we'll do a deep dive into one of the topics. We will take a look a little bit more into the configuration. And then we will end on the product roadmap for the next year's release. Let's start with the most important topics. One of the highlights of this release is that you can now digitally sign generated PDF documents using DocuSign in the document generation tool. This is only available for the early adoption program, so you will have to contact product support in order to enable it. Some prerequisites to keep in mind is that you need to have a DocuSign license, which is to be purchased separately. You'll then need to configure DocuSign and credentials within SuccessFactors. And of course, you'll need to configure a document generation template and the signer's workflow. How this feature works is that now when generating the document, the system will send the document by email to the signers configured in the system. Each signer will receive the email with the link to sign the document using DocuSign. If there are multiple signers set for the document, it will send an email to the next signer and so forth until all signers complete the workflow. After the document is signed by all, an email notification will be sent to the final user with a link to download the signed document. Current limitations are as follows. 1, it doesn't support mass document generation. The only signing vendor supported is DocuSign. And lastly, signed documents are currently not automatically stored within SuccessFactors. This new feature allows admins to decide if and how the system synchronizes the position matrix relationships and job relationships of employees for vacant positions. We now have 3 new settings: No, delimit job relationships, and to incumbent on next higher level position. No will give you options for transferring job relationships on the termination screen. Delimit job relationships will delimit the job relationship with an end date if no other incumbent is available for the given matrix position. And to incumbent on next higher level position will search and select the incumbent of the next available position based on the position hierarchy. This feature is particularly useful for organizations with complex matrix structures. The valid from and valid to new fields have been added to the National ID portlet. This change offers better tracking of modifications and changes done to National ID information, as we can now better track when National IDs expire. Now we will discuss some other interesting release features. A new permission has been created to add assignments for contingent workers. This is for those cases where you will need a concurrent employment to be added to a contingent worker. If this permission is not enabled, the Add Assignment option won't appear under the Take Action drop-down menu for contingent worker profiles. As previously communicated, the legacy pending request page will be deleted as of November 15, 2024. The new pending workflows page has been enhanced and will now officially replace the legacy one. Enhancements include things like the new tab called Request Reassigned to Others. This tab shows requests that have been delegated or escalated by the current user to others and that are still pending approval. We now also have a new link called Access Requests Awaiting My Approval, which allows users to quickly navigate to the My Workflow request page, where they can view and process requests awaiting their approval. The latest people profile now introduces a new and improved way to access pending approvals and feature changes. If you have the latest people profile activated, users with the required permissions will be able to view pending approvals and feature changes from both the card entities, so the portlets, but also at the top in the header of the people profile. We have some local enhancements for multiple countries that include things like enhancements to validation rules for national IDs, new fields on the global information for dependents, enhanced contract type pick lists, new global information fields, and also new currencies. We recommend that you review these changes of the countries that you have configured in order to be compliant with local regulations. Enhancements have been made to the latest people profile. Enhancements include things like empty fields are now hidden by default, and now you can choose to show or hide these empty fields. In the compensation information, the currency is now included with the amount value. External codes are now hidden on the display in view mode. Fields that refer to employees now show the profile picture and the job information. For portlets that have more than one record, up to the first 4 records are shown in the list automatically by default. And lastly, if you have localized biographical information, the card will display the first non-empty fields at up to 3 of the country-specific entries. We now have new use cases for quick actions, specifically for position management. Some of these use cases include being able to change the to-be hired status of a position, being able to change the working time for a position. So for example, changing a full-time position to a part-time position and vice versa. We have use cases for deactivating positions. And lastly, being able to reclassify positions. That means that we'll be able to make changes directly on the position object. The FTE and the to be hired fields have now been added to the My Teams position cards for managers that is shown in the company info. As a manager, you can now also search for the My Teams position page directly through the action search. These enhancements were done to improve the overall manager experience. Some other low-impact enhancements have also been made. For example, inactive users are now excluded from the HRIS pay component group some sick job. Some small enhancements have been done to quick actions, such as the address type and country fields are now always displayed first in the details page when using the address use case. If you have the incumbent apparent position field enabled, it is now automatically displayed for the quick action. We can now use the no override for standard fields when importing address information. Before, it could only be used for custom fields. We have a few new validations that have been introduced to improve the consistency of the business configuration and foundation objects. Lastly, there are some changes to the MDF level of composite associations. For custom MDF objects, the limit of composite associations level is 2, and for pre-delivered MDF objects, the limit is 3. Now, I'm going to do a deep dive in one of the most interesting topics of this release. As previously mentioned, we have a new feature that has been introduced for document generation that allows us to digitally sign documents using DocuSign. Some other requirements needed is feature toggle enablement and activate the enable DocuSign adapter from provisioning. You will also need to grant the necessary permissions. You have to have a license that is to be purchased separately from Employee Central. You need to then activate DocuSign, and then you will also have to do some document generation configuration in order to enable the full functionality. Apart from activating DocuSign, there are some configuration requirements that are needed on the Employee Central level when it comes to document generation. For new templates, you'll have to go to Manage Document Templates, Create New, and then configure the digital signing for the document generation. Here, you'll be able to add multiple signers by providing the signing order and also the signing type for each document that you want to configure. For document generation templates that are already pre-existing in your instance, you'll have to make the signature applicable against each of these document generation templates, instead of having to create new ones. You will then have to assign the signers to this pre-existing template. Two of the new main features regarding document generation and DocuSign is the signing order and signing type. For signing order, this is going to determine the sequence in which recipients are required to sign the document. So if you have a document that needs to be signed by multiple people, you can specify which person has to sign first, then second, and so on until the entire sequence has been signed. If you do not specify any specific signing order, then all recipients can sign the document in any order or simultaneously. In DocuSign, the signer type can have various designations based on the role and identity of the signer. Here's an explanation of the different signer types that you can configure within EC. You can have the role, such as manager, HR, manager, etc. These are the typical roles that we see within the EC standard solution. We have the self, meaning yourself, a specific user, or you can also assign an external user where you'll have to add the name and also their email address. With the correct activation of DocuSign and configuration of the document generation template, all signers will receive an email notification informing them when they have to digitally sign the document. Here you can see a reference screenshot illustrating how the email will appear to each recipient. Lastly, I wanted to end by mentioning some of the benefits of using this functionality. The first is that it's very user-friendly, as we can count on an intuitive interface that makes it easy to generate, sign, and manage documents. With DocuSign, users can sign documents from anywhere and on any device as long as they have an internet connection. This level of flexibility is very useful for those working in different locations or even remotely. DocuSign allows for seamless collaboration, as it allows for multiple signers to collaborate more easily. You will be able to define a signing order, which will ensure that documents are signed in the correct sequence by the correct people. Lastly, this will speed up the approvals and make document workflows more efficient. We can reduce the time spent on paperwork and manual signatures by automating the document signing process. I will now talk about the product roadmap so we can get a bit of an insight into what we can look forward to in upcoming releases. Here are some of the items that have been announced in the product roadmap. On one hand, we'll be able to perform bulk updates to employee data without the need for import files. We can expect some enhancements regarding the actions, additional features, as well as some workflow details in the new people profile. And lastly, through the efforts of AI, it appears that we'll have more support for process insights and HR policy FAQs. For more information, you can click on the link on this slide.
Thank you for joining. We hope you found this video insightful and inspiring. If you're ready to take your workforce to the next level, visit our website for more valuable resources and solutions.